Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today we're going to be making a quilt called Cosmic Stars. This is one I've been wanting to make for quite a long time. I don't exactly know how to do these in the middle, but I'm sure the pattern will show us just how to make them. This pattern uses a jelly roll, and I really would like to use batiks. We have these Hoffman Bali Poppies, and these are nice dark colors, so these dark ones will be in the background here. Now we need to pick out the accent for the stars. I'm going to want to use a gold for my stars. I think that will look really good on these dark fabrics here. And I think this one will show up really well. I'm probably going to use all these dark ones in the stars and not that. So this will show up really well. And then we need a little bit darker of something. We'll go with this dark brown. So these two prints are going to be used where you see that red and that gold. Now we've got everything we need, so let's go over to the studio and get started. The first thing we're going to do is open up our strip sets here. Now these poppies have 20 strips in each package. The size I'm going to make the throw, so I'm going to need a total of 36, so that will work out perfectly. And I'm going to take out these very gold strips, because if I use these in the patchwork, that won't show up against them. But I've got enough dark strips left over here with the 2 packs so that we can get all of our backgrounds made. The first thing we're going to do is take these right to the machine, and we're going to make strip units. We're going to take 4 strips at a time, and it really doesn't matter which strips you use, so don't worry about which fabric is next to which, just to get a variety of them. So I don't think I'll take them in order, but I think I'll get an orange and then a red and then a couple of dark ones. So we want to sew these with a 1/4 inch seam, and you want to make sure that you don't stretch either the top or the bottom. So just be sure they're laying right on top of themselves with no stretching, and stitch all the way down. Now you're going to want to open up the seam, or press the seam to one side, open up these strips, and finger press. So I'm holding it open, and then I'm just drawing my fingernail, or even just the pad of your finger, right down that seam. And this really makes the next ironing step real easy. So I'm going to stitch 2 more strips onto this. I have all of my strips sewn into strip units. Now you want to iron it nice and flat and nice and straight. So I'm going to smooth it with my hands. Because I finger pressed it, it's pretty flat, but I like to get a yardstick or a straight edge and make sure it's lined up on there, and then I'm going to iron it. I usually use a dry iron first and then steam. And now we're going to take this right to the cutting board. Now take all your strip units and cut them into squares. Once they're all cut, we're going to take half of these squares and we're going to put them on our cutting board with the lines horizontal. And we are going to draw a line on the back side from corner to corner. And I'm going to use a chalk pencil here because it's white and I can see my line. So do this on half of the squares. Now we're going to take one of our squares that's drawn on and one that's not drawn on. And I'm going to put them right sides together. The lines or the seams are all going the same way. And I've stacked this up so that these seam allowances are going down, and on the back side they're going up. So if you happened to lay it out like this, where all the seams are going the same way, it'll be hard to stitch, so just turn it around. Line up the edges very carefully, and then we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the line on both sides. Go right down the other side. Now we're going to cut right along our drawn line. So we're basically using the same method we use to make half square triangles. But because these are all pieced, we're going to get this nice angled patchwork square. After you get the blocks ironed, trim off the dog ears and then finish making all your blocks. The next thing we need to work with is the accent fabrics. Now I've got them all cut here. The pattern will tell you exactly what size to cut these, and be sure to check the pattern because you need to mark the back of these, but we're going to do a diagonal line, but it's real important to do this particular diagonal, not the other one. So check the pattern so you get the right orientation. Now I'm going to use a chalk pencil because I've got such a dark fabric here, and I want to draw from corner to corner. So you might have to move your ruler over a little because the chalk pencil has a little width. So just check if you're actually drawing from corner to corner, and do that on all your dark accents. Take one of your dark accent pieces and one of your blocks. And I've got a little measuring, a little ruler here on my machine. You may not, you may have to set one down here, but you want to measure over 2.5 inches, which for me is this mark right here. And you want to put the corner of your accent piece right at that spot. And you want to line the other corner up, the far corner, on the edge right there. So if you're swiveling this around, you're going to have to double check that this is actually over 2.5 inches. Mine looks good. You can pin it if you want. Since I'm right here and it's not going to move, I'm just going to spin it around, and I'm going to stitch a hair to the right of my drawn line. You can stitch right on it or just a hair to the right. You want to stitch slowly and carefully here and stitch right off the end. Now you can tell if you've sewn it correctly by flipping this over, finger pressing a little. If the edges all meet up, then you've done it perfectly. Mine is not perfect because my edges are a little bit off. This one is close enough, so when I iron that, I'm going to be okay. If yours is way over here, you're going to want to take your stitching out and do it over again. You might even want to try a few practice pieces because you will get better as you go. So sew each one at a time like this, flip it over, make sure it's matching pretty carefully, then go on to the next block. Once you have all those stitched on, you want to iron this nice and flat, and then take your blocks back to the cutting board, and from the back side, we're going to first trim off that extra accent. So line up with your original block here and trim off that excess. Now flip it over, open this back up, and we're going to trim off the extra background there. We're going to leave a 1/4 inch. So put your 1/4 inch line on your stitching, trim away. Now we've got a nice square block with no extra bulk there. Now we need to mark the other accent fabrics, and again, check the pattern so you can make sure you are drawing in the right orientation. And I'm going to use a pencil this time because these are light backgrounds and my chalk won't show up very well. We're going to use the same method here. We're going to measure over 2.5 inches and put that corner right on the 2.5 inch spot, and then swivel this over until the tip is on the edge of the patch. I'm going to slide right under the machine here and stitch again just a hair to the right of the drawn line. So again, fold this over and see if your edges match. Now mine are not quite as close there, but I will keep going and I will get better. I think this is close enough because I will still have plenty left with my 1/4 inch seam. So iron these and trim them using the same method we did with the first accent color. Now we're going to take 4 of these blocks back to the sewing machine. Now watch what happens when you put 4 blocks together. You just spin them around and we're going to have a star right there in the middle. So I'm going to sew these 2 and then sew the last seam. Now that the blocks are all done, we can lay the quilt out, and it's really easy because the blocks are so nice and big. So there's no special way to turn them. We're just going to do 3 rows with 3 blocks. There's all the blocks laid out. So all I'm going to do is sew the rows together and make the quilt top and get it on the quilting machine. But before I do that, I'm going to add some borders. And we had a little bit of patchwork left over from every strip unit. We had one of these pieces left over. So I'm going to take this and cut it into 2.5-inch pieces like these here. I'm going to stitch them into one long piece, and I'm going to use that for one of the borders. The Cosmic Stars quilt, it's loaded on the machine. Now we need to pick a thread color. I think any of these will work really well, but I'm going to go with this gold because it's not going to take away from the stars that are on here, and it's going to blend pretty well with all of these other strip colors too. For the quilting, I'm going to do some simple swirls. You can see a little better what it will look like if I put more rows in. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm so happy with the Cosmic Stars quilt. It really looks like those stars are set right on top of the quilt. They don't recede in, they're just popping right out. Now you can see the original blocks we made. It's underneath here. So you just have a little bit of that showing, and then it comes together here, makes another pattern. This dark makes them come out off the quilt. Here's the patchwork border that I showed you. The quilt was pretty easy to make, and this would be beautiful in a big quilt. So this is a throw size. This would be a great wall hanging, but if you wanted to put this on your bed, you could just keep making more blocks. I've used this variegated, it's kind of a stripy batik on the back, and you can really see the quilting on there. You can really see those swirls. Thanks for watching our tutorial today on how to make the Cosmic Stars quilt. Now, we're going to have another giveaway. We are giving away this log cabin quilt. These are bigger log cabin blocks, and this is a group of motif fabrics called Beach Road. And this is a great quilt for summer. Nice greens and blues and golds. It's very easy to enter our giveaways. All you have to do is click the link below that says giveaway and put in your name and your email address. And remember, we can ship this anywhere in the world. Good luck. Now, if you don't want to miss any of our upcoming tutorials, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Happy quilting!